I wish I could just sort of do this celebratory dance and kind of, victory lap, whatever it's called, and say that I've told you so. But I think, in my own intellectual approach to this matters, I have evolved and changed quite a lot. So I wouldn't necessarily claim that 10 years ago I had it all figured out, and now I'm sort of celebrating on the laurels. So my own approach has become much more focused closely on the economics of technology and where the money comes from, where the political power to act on that money comes from, how it all fits into the geopolitical system, which was not necessarily the questions I was asking 10 years ago. But clearly, it would have been nice if the policymakers, especially in Europe, had not wasted so much time believing, in fact, that the utopian future that was outlined to them by the likes of Google and Facebook and Microsoft and Amazon 10 years ago was, in fact, fake. Right? It wasn't there to be obtained without paying a price. I don't think that we are at the peak, so things will get much worse, I think, with time, in part because so much of our infrastructure now, and I'm not just talking about, cables, I'm talking about our cultural infrastructure, our economic infrastructure, so much of it essentially relies on the services furnished by these companies, and they were not built in order to make us secure. They were built to make money for those firms, right? So essentially, there is quite a lot of vulnerability in society out there, and who knows what's going to happen as the algorithms start optimizing for things that were never originally programmed into them. There are certain data that clearly are ours and private, and they should not be disclosed. I should not be linked to that path that I take as I navigate the city. And clearly, nobody should be intruding and seeing what's happening in my bedroom or my kitchen or, in my actual private abode. So there are certain things that should be off limits. A lot of people who are generating a lot of data who, if given an opportunity, would be more than happy to perhaps give that data to some kind of public entity instead of having Facebook or Google or Cambridge Analytica come in and just suck out that data, build their own services, and then monetize them. Can I give you an example with Uber? The main argument in favor of using Uber as a customer is that it's extremely cheap. It's cheaper than all the other services, and it's consistent, and it's reliable, and it's basically something that will save you money. Now, if you start analyzing how exactly those savings are produced, you discover that a lot of it has to do with the fact that Uber is a loss-making company. It's a company that makes very little money. So actually, they're losing money. Last year, in 2017, they lost close to $4 billion. Right? And they've lost also money the year before and the year before. Now, if you have a company that can afford to lose $4 billion, it means several things. It means that their competitors probably are feeling relatively bad because they don't have as much money to lose. But it also means that sooner or later, the investors behind Uber will insist on getting paid back. And of course, Uber has been very clever. They went to the sovereign wealth funds of Saudi Arabia. They went to this Japanese firm called SoftBank, and they raised tens and tens of billions of dollars. Now, the only way for Uber to essentially repay the losses is either to crush the competition that they currently face still in many places of the world, and then raise prices, or it will be to use as much data as they can about the condition of roads, about the state of customers, where the customers drive, use all that data, combine it with a lot of money being poured into artificial intelligence, and essentially switch to a mode where they no longer need to employ drivers, and the cars can drive on their own through self-driving mechanisms, right? And that essentially, I think, is the option preferred by Uber. No, I don't think I'm pessimistic. Often they call me techno-pessimism, a techno-skeptic. And in fact, if you read my work closely, especially in the last few years, it's almost utopian in its belief in the possibility of reorganizing society differently using pretty much the same technologies. I'm kind of doubtful about the rhetoric and the ability of the reality to match the rhetoric of these big digital firms and their own ideologues. But it does not make me pessimistic.